Alrighty folks, hello and welcome to Darlington International Speedway. Going to be doing some practice here while we talk about some of the racing that's happened to this point of the weekend. I don't have anything to say about the Southern 500 yet because that race is yet to happen as I'm recording this. But some of the other racing this weekend has been pretty awesome. So I'm thinking that I might start doing some race reviews, and I thought what better way to do them than to turn some laps while talking about it. So, first race this weekend was the Xfinity Series race at Darlington, and that one was quite a show. Ross Chastain, hard to think and recall things. I'm probably going to get some notes for future segments when I do this just to make sure that I've got names and numbers and everything ready. But Ross Chastain, in a one-race deal driving the Chip Ganassi 42, did an amazing job. Qualified on pole, won the first two stages, running up front. Just drove a fantastic race, and then got caught up with Kevin Harvick. And that was the big moment in the race, I thought, after that, Brad Keselowski went on to win. But the big moment of the race, the one that everyone's going to be talking about, was what I felt was largely a racing deal, but more, in my opinion, on Kevin Harvick than Ross Chastain. And there are some things, some of that is what was going on the track, but other things are just, what I feel are issues of respect and how you race when you travel down into another series and you're racing against guys who have championships to run for in that series, and you're not involved in the championship in that series. So, first issue is, I mentioned it some yesterday on the stream in practice in advance of the race, and I think during the race as well. At Darlington, passing coming out of turn 2 is a really, really, really dicey maneuver. It's just turn 2 narrows up so much, and I know that Kevin Harvick did it sort of okay, but he basically kind of used a lap car as a pick coming through 1 and 2, which put him on the inside of Ross Chastain through 2. And the reason why that's a bad idea is that more than at any other track, Darlington being so narrow, as you're coming off turn 2, the car really pushes out to the outside. So it puts the guy in the outside line in a situation where he basically has to roll completely out of the throttle and abandon the corner that he's committed to in order to concede the spot to you. If you run off the corner like you're going to do, unless you roll out completely, you're putting him in a spot where both of you are going to have a crash. And so, as the trailing car in that situation, the majority of the responsibility is on you to put your car in position to make a pass cleanly without jeopardizing the leader of the race. He's earned the right to the lead. It's incumbent on the driver that's making the passing move to give the driver who is defending the lead an opportunity to do so. It's not, in my opinion, clean racing to make a move that just completely forces the other guy off the track, basically. As for Chastain giving Harvick enough room, Harvick ran Chastain all the way to the wall. Chastain really gave Kevin Harvick as much room as was available to give, and didn't get it in the same thing. Now, as far as the retaliation afterwards, that's Ross Chastain, heat of the moment. This was he paid a lot of money to get that seat, most likely. That was a one-time shot. He was in a position to win a race where he's normally used to a good day being a top 15 or a top 20, and knew that that was the only chance of the year. So that retaliation was probably over the line, but you know, as a fan, I kind of love that he did it, because it's super entertaining. Kevin Harvick going over and stopping in his pit and then doing the whole acting like, oh no, I don't know what's going on. I can't start it. I don't know, something's wrong with my car and it just happened to stop it in your pit box. Please. That was awesome. And so the way that whole thing played out was a lot of fun. I was not a big fan of Kevin Harvick's post-race comments, but again, that's heat of the moment stuff. But again, part of it comes back to Kevin Harvick. It has a full-time ride in a top-tier team in the Cup Series. He is a Cup Series champion. He, as a veteran driver, a champion of the sport, and a huge future Hall of Famer, is coming down to the series that Ross Chastain races for points and for the championship in. And in the race that was Chastain's only chance this year and to this point in his NASCAR career to get a win, to race him like that and then throw Chastain under the bus, saying that, well, that's why he doesn't have a good ride, basically. I was not a big fan of the way that Harvick handled that. He does have 2 more races in the 42, so hopefully he's able to, hopefully he runs this well again. That was a really impressive drive by Chastain, and showed, in my opinion at least, that he has the driving ability to be deserving of much better equipment than what he's in currently. I thought that was pretty conclusively demonstrated by how well he ran. That basically wraps up my thoughts on the Xfinity Series race. So we move to this morning, Formula One, Italy, the Monza Grand Prix circuit in Italy. And Ferrari entered this race looking like, everyone kind of expecting that Ferrari was going to win and likely get a 1-2. They qualified first and second. Raikkonen out-qualified Vettel. As I understand it, that was primarily because Raikkonen was the one who had the toe behind Vettel rather than the other way around. I didn't watch qualifying, so I didn't see exactly how that played out, but that's my understanding based on what I heard. Little bit of stuff right on the start. I think Brendan Hartley got knocked out. That kind of stuff happens not infrequently, in my opinion, on standing. That's a factor of standing starts in general. It puts drivers in that kind of situation. You can have stuff with rolling starts too, but the way that standing starts happen in F1, you're going to periodically have some stuff happen on the starts. This one was relatively minor, even though it did result in the safety car coming out. So 30.13. The next sequence of events that happened was Lewis Hamilton got a really good run on Sebastian Vettel. All right, we're going to reset the car. Lost my focus on the track for a second while I was trying to collect my thoughts. So Hamilton gets a run on Vettel and makes a really bold move, going to the outbraking Vettel to the outside, heading into a chicane. Forgive me, I don't know the names of the Formula One track corners by heart currently. That studying track maps is going to be another thing if I continue to do these race reviews as regular statement. But Hamilton outbrakes Vettel to the outside, gets positioned to the outside going through the chicane, and then, in this, it's a different scenario than Harvick and Chastain for a couple reasons. One is that Hamilton, I feel like, went to the edge of the track and held his line there, similar to what Chastain did on the outside. It was a similar type of bowled over. It was an unorthodox place to make an overtaking maneuver. So He's putting it in a bold spot, but I don't think you're putting both drivers in as bad a position overtaking the way that Hamilton did, as Harvick was putting Chastain in that position, using lap car as the pick, and just the nature of how corner number 2 at Darlington works. I don't think that Hamilton shares the same amount of fault for his role in this incident as Harvick did in that one. I'm not entirely sure if it's 50-50, but calling it as a racing deal I think is fine. I think that from what I saw, Hamilton took his car to the edge of the track and then held there, did not go off course, and Vettel pushed out into Hamilton, but given how tight that section of the track is, I think it's really, really, really difficult to make a proper, what am I trying to say? I think that Vettel was put in a really tough spot by Hamilton. I think that Hamilton's move was largely clean. It was opportunistic, but I don't really have a problem with it. If I was Vettel, I would probably be unhappy for him making the move. If I'm Hamilton, I'm probably unhappy that Vettel let the car push out as wide as he did. I largely think it's a racing incident. It's hard for me to look, these guys are racing for a championship. They're racing to become the first 5-time champion of Formula One since Michael Schumacher, and to join only Michael Schumacher and Juan Manuel Fangio as 5-time world champions. So I expect both of them to race very hard and neither give the other one an inch or give anything. I expect them to be in take mode all the way the rest of the season. And so I love that about that move. I think that Vettel made a slight mistake, and Vettel was the one that paid the price for that slight mistake. The rest of the race was executed brilliantly by Mercedes, and I think that Ferrari slipped slightly, made a slight mistake on strategy, and Kimi Räikkönen made a slight mistake in execution, and that resulted in Hamilton going 1 and Räikkönen going 2. Kimi Räikkönen pitted around lap 21 to change from super softs to soft tires. Hamilton stayed out 8 laps longer on his super soft tires, which he had obviously been taking very good care of because he was able to make them last 8 laps longer. And for the first lap or so, he was actually faster than Räikkönen on the new softs, but he continued to run at a competitive enough pace that he was able to stay within range of Räikkönen, so that when Hamilton pitted and got the better soft tires, he was close enough to Räikkönen that having those 8-lap pressure tires over the rest of the race ended up being a huge advantage, and he was able to capitalize on that advantage because when he came out, he was within about 5 seconds of Räikkönen. He also had the help of Valtteri Bottas slowing up Räikkönen a little bit, staying out even longer on his super soft tires. Mercedes is, I think that's a tactic, but that is team tactics. That is part of Formula One. I don't think that there's anything that's really unethical about what Mercedes did there, especially since Ferrari has historically shown the willingness to execute the exact same tactics. Simon, I'm actually not doing a race right now. I will be doing one later tonight. I'm just doing race reviews right now for a YouTube video, and I'll be doing racing later tonight. But yeah, so Mercedes then, I think pits Bottas, or Bottas eventually has to let Räikkönen by. that slowed up Raikkonen just enough. I'm not even sure if Lewis Hamilton needed that given the margin that he won by, but it definitely didn't hurt Hamilton. It only helped him. And then, using those fresher tires, Hamilton was able to run down, catch Raikkonen, and pass him on track for the lead, something that, does happen occasionally in Formula One, but it's not the most common thing, which is an on-track pass for the lead and for the win. So very exciting stuff there. Another piece of drama did happen later in the race when I believe it was Valtteri Bottas made a passing attempt on Max Verstappen to the outside. Verstappen misjudged, ran wide, thought that Bottas hit him. Bottas actually held his line when Verstappen made the move in the braking zone back across the track. He did not live a full car width to his outside, made contact, was summarily given a 5-second penalty. I thought that the way that all of that played out was appropriate. It ended up that Bottas was fast enough to run down Verstappen again and get the position away from him so that Bottas, I think that was for the podium, so Bottas finished on the podium. The penalty cost Verstappen an additional spot, so he ended up finishing behind Vettel. So that the whole sequence ended up dropping Verstappen from 3rd to 5th, and Vettel recovered from his early race spin from the contact with Hamilton to finish in 4th. Significance of this race, this was, I think, the second time this year where we've seen Lewis Hamilton execute one of the best drives of his career, the other one being the German Grand Prix. It's very interesting that both times that Lewis Hamilton's basically gone to Vettel's home territory, the German Grand Prix and the Italian Grand Prix, which is the home track for Vettel's team, Scuderia Ferrari. I think that's right. The Ferrari team. He has executed flawlessly. Those were the two of the best drives that I've seen Lewis Hamilton give in his career to get wins in races where Vettel was the favorite driver. Interestingly, in the British Grand Prix, Sebastian Vettel gave one of his best drives, and Lewis Hamilton struggled. So it's been very interesting how the season has played out to this point. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out the rest of the way. But definitely an historic season going on in Formula One, where we have 2 4-time world champions. The first time ever in the history of Formula One that we've had that. 2 4-time champions going against each other for the world championship. And one of them will become the 3rd 5-time world champion of all time. Got a few minutes left. Brief little couple notes on the Indy Car race. I didn't follow this one as closely as the others, and I came in kind of midway, but my goodness, the Scott Dixon with a legendary drive should have by all rights been out of the race on lap 1 in a massive accident that saw Marco Andretti flipping over Dixon's teammate. Everyone's all right, thankfully, but a spectacular crash. And Scott Dixon miraculously, brings it to a stop. He must have been watching my channel, because that was some professional level wreck avoidance right there. Comes away with a car that is undamaged, save for a tire scuff mark on the top of the nose cone. Recovers to finish 5th, while Alexander Rossi, who had all kinds of speed and was leading the race at one point, ends up, I missed exactly how it ended up playing out, but somehow the strategy and circumstance of the race did not play out in Rossi's favor. He finishes 8th. Scott Dixon finishes 5th, and in a race where he very likely, it easily could have been where Dixon was out on lap 1, Rossi wins the race, and all of a sudden we've got a completely different landscape where Rossi would have a massive advantage heading into Sonoma. Instead, Scott Dixon has a pretty sizable lead going in Sonoma. It's going to be very difficult for Alexander Rossi to catch Dixon in the final race of the Sonoma, final race of the season at Sonoma at this point, even with double points. But my goodness, did Scott Dixon just demonstrate exactly what you need to do to win championships, especially when the system that you're doing is accumulated points. But drives like today, that's how you win championships. Absolutely awesome stuff out of Scott Dixon. And also, finally, congratulations to Takuma Sato. Awesome to see him get the win, his first win since last year's Indianapolis 500. So that's my race reviews for that. I'm planning on, I'll probably do one tomorrow for the Southern 500 because, as I said earlier in the video, I'm planning on running or I think I said it, but I'm planning on running NIS Fixed tonight at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. So tune in for that. I'll maybe be halfway through when the Southern 500 finally wraps up, but I'll be watching the end of the Southern 500 tonight, and I'll do a review of that tomorrow. So be sure to check YouTube or the notification on Twitch when it goes live. But yeah, so I think this is going to be fun. I'll get better at it, and this will become a fun regular thing for the channel. So thank you very much. I'm going to go watch at least the first part of the Southern 500 up until I have to come down here to run NIS Fixed at Darlington. So if you're not in my Discord already, join up in that. I'll be chatting with folks in Discord throughout the race. Thank you guys very much. If you like my stuff, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click like on this one if you liked it, and any questions or anything like that, comments, please hit them down in the comments. I'll include links for my Twitch channel, the donation link, and my merch store in the description. Thank you very much. Peace out.